I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and double honors to our elders and apostles, and peace and blessings to the elect. All right, the apostles starting from Apostle Hart on down to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All right, so this lesson is going to be the core values or the core structures to overcoming your flesh and becoming a better man or becoming a better person, a better man or a better woman. All right, we're going to get right into it. This is Matthew 16:24. It says, "Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." All right, so you have to deny yourself, man. It's the first step to becoming a new man, right? It's denying yourself. Well, obviously, it comes to understanding. We're going to, skip. We're going to assume that you already have understanding that you are Israelite. You've been blessed with the knowledge of self and in the names of the Lord, right? So you automatically have the fear of the Lord, right? So now, because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? So now, okay, so what are the core steps that you got to take to become a better man after learning self? Okay, well, yeah, it starts with denying yourself. All right, you have to look at your vices, your habits, the man that you were, what was holding you back. And once you look at those things and you recognize patterns, all right, you begin to make changes. And it starts with denying yourself, because you have to deny yourself pleasures. You have to deny yourself routine. You have to deny yourself comforts, all the things that you were in the world that really stopped you from being a better version, or stopped you from accomplishing certain things, or stopped you from being a righteous man, ultimately. You got to take up your cross and follow Yahushua. Taking up your cross is bearing your cross, which basically means you're bearing the burdens and the afflictions and hell and all those things, right? You're bearing all those things for Yahushua's sake, and you're following up to Yahushua no matter what. You're denying yourself. You're taking afflictions cheerfully. You're taking on challenges. You're not running from your problems, and you're willing to even give up your life for Yahushua's sake. All right, that's denying yourself. All right, that's one of the hardest things you could do. That's why it's one of the first things you could do. It's denying yourself. Once you start to deny yourself, you start to create, what's the word? Self-efficacy, I believe it's called, where you start to get confidence in yourself. You start to gain confidence because you start noticing that you start turning down lust and desires that you once were weak to, would succumb to, no matter what it was. Lust, women, junk food, comfort, like laziness, slothfulness. And you start doing things that you didn't feel like doing, but were good for you. Working out, eating clean, not eating bullshit, sugar and shit, not watching porn, not dealing with certain women because they're detrimental to you, or maybe even there was a woman you were dealing with in the world prior to learning the truth, and maybe she was married. You know what I mean? You were committing adultery, but when you're in the world, you didn't really know. You didn't really care. You didn't have those principles. But now that you come to accept the truth, you know that you can't deal with that woman. All right. So going down to number 2, it says discipline your body. All right. So it says 1 Corinthians 9:27. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest by any means when I have preached to others, I should myself be a castaway. Right. When you go into the precept, it says your body is not meant to rule you. Through discipline and self-control, you bring your desires under submission. Exactly. Your body is not meant to rule you. All right. Your body is the vehicle. It is the vessel. But what the spirit is within, that is the pilot. Okay. That is the command center, the spirit, right? The mind. That's the command center. All right. Your spirit, your mind controls the body. Your mind controls the body, bro. So when you think about doing something, it's your mind. The flesh will influence you and will manipulate you into not doing things that you know that you need to do or know that you want to do because of comfort's sake, right? Because a lot of times the things that we want in life are difficult. They're challenging, but they lead to long-term rewards. They lead to dopamine hits, like real dopamine hits, like exercise. Exercise in the moment sucks a lot of times. Sometimes it's enjoyable, but for the most part, when you're training and you're training hard, it's usually not comfortable. It's very uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It's a very uncomfortable thing, and it's hard. And sometimes you don't want to do it. But when you do it, what happens is at the end of that workout, you get dopamine spike, which a sense of accomplishment. You know what I mean? A sense of achievement. And you start to feel good. Your confidence goes through the roof. Your joy goes through the roof, right? You get that dopamine hit and you feel good, all right? So you have to keep your body under subjection. Your body, as the scriptures say, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? The spirit always wants to do good, but the flesh is weak as fuck, man. But the one thing the flesh is good at doing is manipulating, bro, influencing. But he's weak. But it's weak in regards to self-control. All right. That's why the scripture says, "He that ruleth his spirit is mightier than he that taketh a city." So when you can rule your spirit, and ultimately your spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. But when you really think about it, like you're conscious. I don't know. This is me speaking as a man, but this is how I look at it, right? You got three separate categories, right? Or three separate, I don't know, branches, right? Let's just say branches, right? So you have the spirit, you have the body, you have the mind, right? The spirit and the mind are aligned, but yet different, right? This is, like I said, this is just me speaking as a man. This is just my perspective. This is the way I look at it. This works for me. The spirit, and I think it goes well with scripture because it says the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. But at the same time, the spirit may want to do something, but the flesh influences you to do the thing that you don't want to do, right? So it's kind of like if the spirit really runs the body, then if the spirit wanted to do it, it would do it, right? So I look at there's a third option in there. There's a third branch in there, and that's the mind. The mind is ultimately what controls and tells you, the body, what to do ultimately. The spirit is the righteous influence and the flesh is the negative influence, but the flesh is also the vehicle. You can use the flesh to benefit the spirit, which can also in turn benefit the flesh. But you can also use the flesh thinking you're benefiting the flesh, but in reality, you're doing harm, right? Falling into lust and temptation, eating sugary snacks and getting fat and shit and not working out and getting sick. It may feel good in the moment when you're doing those things, but guess what? It's detrimental to the body. It's not good for the body. And in turn, it's hurting the spirit. So when you learn to rule your spirit with your mind, you can control your body. You can tell yourself what you will do and what you won't do. You know what I mean? And very rarely will you fall. I don't know. This is my perspective, the way I look at it. It works for me. It makes sense in my head. And Salakia, if the way I'm explaining it doesn't really make sense, but in my head it makes sense. But take from that whatever you will and apply it however you will. And if it don't apply, let it fly. Whatever. You know what I mean? The point of the matter still stands. All right. You got to rule your spirit. You got to control your flesh. You got to keep your body in the subjection. Very simple. Number 3 says walk in the spirit. Galatians 5:16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Right? Walk in the spirit. All right. Again, you push yourself in positions and environments where it is conducive to the spirit, and you'll be more inclined to do things of the spirit. But when you put yourself in a position of the flesh, you're more likely to do things that pertain to the flesh. If you're hanging around people in the world, you're more likely to have worldly thoughts. You're more likely to be inspired by worldly things, to be enticed by worldly things, because you're constantly around worldly people talking about worldly shit. But when you're in the spirit and you're constantly surrounding yourself with spiritual talk, prophecy, scripture, brothers, you're more likely to be in the spirit. You're more likely to make righteous and better decisions that align with the spirit. It's just fact. It's just nature. It's just how it is. All right. So walk after the spirit, bro. Just walk in the spirit. Constantly prayer, constantly thinking of the Lord's word. Any little bit of downtime you got, throw a lesson on. Like what works for me when I'm out and about, bro. I carry my headphones and my AirPods with me, and I always got a lesson playing, bro. Like if I don't have to physically talk to anybody or listen for anybody, bro, in my car, lessons on. Usually when I'm in the house, I'm usually on kind of like chill mode. I got the family and all that. Like right now I'm in the house, but I wanted to do this lesson. But I'm in the car maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours out the day. You know what I mean? So when I'm in the car, I'm consuming. You know what I mean? I'm listening. I'm listening. Sometimes I do a lot of lessons in the car, but for the most part, I'm listening. I'll get like 4 or 5 videos in a day. And I mean like 20, 30-minute videos. I also put my videos on 1.75 playback speed because brothers naturally speak slow. So when you put a brother on like 1.5 to 1.75 playback speed, they speak it's hard. They speak in a manner where it's easier to consume the information. So you can get through a 30-minute video in like 17, 18 minutes. You know what I mean? So I get through 4 or 5 videos a day, depending on the lengths. You know what I mean? Like today was probably a higher day because majority of videos I watched today were like under 20 minutes. So I got through maybe, 6, 7 plus. But, that's how you kind of got to walk in the spirit, Makes your life align around the spirit. Live after this work. And you'll be surprised at how much you can overcome the flesh. All right. Let's go to the precept that it says the solution to overcoming the flesh is not simply resisting temptation. It is strengthening your relationship with the Most High so the Spirit leads your life. Yeah, strengthen, exactly. And that's why I said to put yourself in an environment where you're always in the spirit. You're always consuming spiritual things because you're more likely, that's you strengthening your relationship with the Most High because you're receiving His word. And then when you receive His word, you get inspired to apply it to your life. Especially when you're watching brothers that go a lot into self-development. You know what I mean? I like my YouTube feed is 80% growth and developmental brothers, and then maybe or 70%, and then maybe like 30% prophecy and news. And it works for me. You know what I mean? It works for me. That's kind of like that's just the stage I'm in life. That's kind of my walk. It's kind of my lot. My lot has always been self-development. It's always been development. It's always been support. Like that's what my name means. Samak means support or trust. So that's just the kind of lot that I've always been in. Just always looking to inspire, to exhort, to admonish, to encourage, and then likewise, for myself. So that's kind of where I am. So yeah. It says, put the flesh to death. It says, for if ye live after the flesh, ye shall, and it's Romans 8:13. For if ye live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye live through the spirit, do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. It says, precept, spiritual growth requires actively destroying sinful patterns rather than allowing them to remain, right? Sometimes you got to put it to death, put it to bed, man. You got to cut the cancer out. Cancer cells replicate and imitate good cells. You know what I mean? But even cancer cells are limited to the things that they can do. They can't do all the things that the natural cells can do. So, but the cancer cells, you can't just, think that you can put them in subjection and keep them alive. And no, they're going to continue to do what they do best, which is manipulate and corrupt other good cells. So you have to what? You have to cut the cancer out. You have to completely cut the cancer out and get rid of all the cancerous cells in order for the body to thrive. So sometimes you got to mortify the deeds of the flesh, man. Sometimes you got to just kill certain habits, bro. Certain people can do certain things in moderation, but some people cannot. Some people just don't have moderation. It can be a lot of things, man. For I think a very popular thing with some brothers is alcohol, bro. Like some brothers just don't have it where they can drink strong drink, alcohol, whatever, even wine, in moderation. When they consume alcohol, they consume it to the max. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, they might spiral into what they call a bender, where you go on 2-3 days of just straight drunkenness, man. And then you start doing things that negatively impact your life, may even harm your life or others and get you in some serious trouble, bro. And DUIs ain't no joke, bro. DUIs ain't no joke. Most jobs nowadays require you to have an active and valid driver's license. And if you get a DUI, they take your driver's license. So therefore, you may very well lose your job and hard to find another job because from my experience, I've had many jobs over the last 10 years, many jobs. I'm a job hopper. I stay at a job 2 years, 3 years max, and I'm going. And I'm just recently in a job now to where there's actually growth. And I mean, like, there's available opportunity for growth and promotions and great benefits where I work now. So I'm at a place now where I can kind of, what they say in the world, plant roots. There's no need for me to really go to a new job where I'm at now. I'm at a kind of job where I'm union, great whatever. But the point is, I'm trying to make is that I've always hopped from different jobs since I was 18 years old. Every 2-3 years, sometimes less than 2 years, I'm getting another job, just looking for something different, looking to make more money. This doesn't offer this job offers that. And every single job that I've ever worked all required a driver's license. So within the last 10 years, it's probably been well over 6-7 jobs. Every last one of them required a driver's license. Even the jobs I've applied to that I didn't have. So yeah, man, it's a serious thing. So you have to mortify the deeds of the body and you shall live. Very simple. 5, it says, guard your spirit through self-control. It says Proverbs 25:28. He that have, and I already quoted this one, he that have no rule over his city is like a city. Oh, no, I quoted the opposite of the scripture where I said, he that ruleth a city is mightier than him that taketh a town. But this is the same thing, but reverse, which is he that have no rule over his spirit is like a city that's broken down without walls. All right, so you're susceptible to and vulnerable to all type of attack, spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. You're vulnerable, when you have no rule over your spirit. But when you have rule over your spirit, you're strong, bro. People can say things to you and it doesn't really affect you, bro. You don't, whatever, bro. You're not overly emotional. You're not easily enticed. All right, so this is something that you have to work on. And then this is the last one. It says 2 Ezra 7:92. For they have kept the ways of the Most High when they were in trouble and they had tribulation and have received great rewards. Precept, the struggle against the flesh is temporary, but faithfulness through the trials leads to God's rewards. Exactly. All right, so it's all temporary, man. You just got to overcome yourself. Understand that most of the time, whatever it is that the body wants to do is not good for you. It's not beneficial to you at all. 9 times out of 10. Sometimes the body, maybe you might want to put in some work, but your body's like, yo, bro, we've been working hard for, days with no rest or weeks with no rest. I need a day to just rest. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, we got the Shabbat, but unfortunately, we're in Babylon. So, majority of the time, if the Shabbat isn't on a weekend, I have to work. You know what I mean? Unless the Shabbat's Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday, I have to work. So we just got done with last month. We're just ending this month, which is Sunday to Monday. But the month prior was I believe a Saturday to Sunday, and it was beautiful. You know what I mean? I was actually able to have a rest day. But it is what it is. We take it how it comes, and we give the glory to the Most High. So, Lord willing, this video was edifying, straight and to the point. Till next time, shalom.